a lot of what the Biden White House has been engaged in this year is keeping the progressive and moderates in his coalition together. And he's done a pretty good job of it.
President Biden has definitely exceeded expectations that progressives had.
The last couple of weeks, they've hit some speed bumps when it comes to that. So today, we're going to talk about progressive angst over infrastructure.
Given how bipartisan the bill is and how much work has already been put in to get the details right, I believe the Senate can quickly process relevant amendments and pass this bill in a matter of days.
We are going to break it down with Tanya Snyder, Politico's transportation reporter. Tanya, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with expectations going into the Biden presidency for his, most hardcore supporters. What did they want out of this bill?
I think what they wanted was what he presented in the American Jobs Plan. And that was a really big swing at some of the issues regarding transportation and infrastructure that have been the most problematic. The way that Democrats have talked about infrastructure has really changed over the years, from sort of like, we need to invest because of crumbling roads and bridges and poor conditions, and has really transitioned to something much more urgent. Biden has talked about a couple examples of harmful highway projects of the past that he would like to see torn down or capped or somehow redesigned. We have highways that bulldozed through communities of color in the 60s, tore apart communities of color, and then separated people from jobs, from amenities, from each other. One is the Claiborne Expressway in New Orleans, I-81 in Syracuse. There had been $20 billion in Biden's American Jobs Plan for reconnecting communities, for addressing these kind of past wrongs. And that went down to $500 million. So it is now 1/40th of what he had initially sought. And then when it comes to roads, things get very contentious and very political. Road building has really fallen out of favor with Democrats and progressives.
Physically, how asphalt is made, I think, is something they want, right? You want to make it more porous, so
you've been paying attention to Peter DeFazio, yeah.
And they continue to deny the threat of climate change or even the existence of climate change.
In his many comments railing against this bill, I think he called it something like a 1950s infrastructure plan.
What we've been doing since Dwight David Eisenhower was great at the time, it doesn't work in the 21st century.
Does he have a point there?
I think that DeFazio thought, we can swing for the fences, we can get this done. We can make a legacy-defining change in transportation policy that will have a real impact on climate and social and racial equity.
Folks in the White House are telling us that this week, the week after the bill finally appeared in text form, was all about trying to get non-moderates excited about this bill. Has that happened as far as you can tell?
No, not as far as I can tell. I think that Democrats are disappointed that, again, controlling all of the levers of power in Washington, this is what they ended up with, that they needed to, in order to get something done, they needed to negotiate with 10 Republicans in the Senate. They're still quite disappointed and looking to reconciliation for what might be able to happen there that didn't happen in this process.
One thing that the White House has said, and Biden has said this specifically, is anything that was negotiated in the bipartisan infrastructure bill cannot be reopened in the reconciliation bill. But anything that was outside of it, that was on the cutting room floor, was fair game. And so from a progressive perspective, in some ways, it might have been better for your your big climate issue to not be in the infrastructure bill, where it got cut in half or cut down to 10 or 20% of what Biden proposed. What do progressives whose hopes were kind of dashed with this bill, especially on some of the climate and equity issues, tax credits for electric vehicles, what are the prospects for getting what they want in reconciliation and beyond?
It's going to be really hard because reconciliation is a very clunky process, as you well know, and you can't do everything in reconciliation.
I think the White House is going to have to come up with some kind of promise for folks on the left who didn't get what they wanted in the infrastructure bill. Would you predict that Pelosi and Biden force the Senate product as is, or they get some changes and it heads to conference?
The president wants two things. He wants to show that he can get big things done in a divided Washington, that he can be the unifier he promised to be during the campaign, and he wants to make a big generational impact on climate change, social and racial equity issues. We have this broken system. We can't agree on how to fix it, and so we're going to just keep it broken. And, is Pelosi going to opt for that? Because that's the bill that's in front of her, and it is still the biggest investment in transit, in rail, in a lot of these issues that the country's ever seen? Or is she going to stick with something bigger? If I had to guess, I would guess that she wants to get this done.
You can read Tanya's full article right here.